My name is Celeste Arden. I'm 38 years old. The morning it all began was quiet, eerily so. I walked into the kitchen expecting to hear Nathan humming under his breath while making coffee the way he always did. Instead, the room greeted me with a silence so dense it pressed against my ears. And there it was, a note. 4 sentences written in Nathan's neat, almost dainty handwriting, sitting squarely on the polished granite of our kitchen island, weighted down by his house key. Not the front door key, but the slim brass one for the back door, the door he always preferred. A deliberate detail. It read, "I need to be on my own for a while. This isn't working for me anymore. I need freedom. Don't look for me." That was it. No apology. No "I love you." Just a clinical departure. For a moment I froze. My fingers brushed the paper, but I didn't pick it up. Instead, I just stood there. The scent of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the air, warm and mocking, a trace of a morning routine that had already died. I let my eyes roam the kitchen, the backsplash we'd argued over for weeks, the ridiculously expensive Scandinavian chair he'd insisted would be his reading throne, but mostly served as a coat rack. It all felt like a stage set for a play that had just ended mid-scene. My chest tightened, grief swelling like a wave, but beneath it, disturbingly, there was calm, cold, focused. Nathan had always been impulsive, prone to grand declarations and messy emotions. I was the opposite. He made scenes, I made plans. And this note was his final act of theater. I pressed the note flat against the counter, then straightened. My hands weren't trembling. My mind was already racing forward. My first call wasn't to his sister or to mutual friends. It was to a woman named Marissa Chen, the most ruthless divorce attorney in town, recommended by a colleague of mine who'd once whispered, "She doesn't fight for clients, she dismantles enemies." I booked an appointment for Monday. My second call was to the bank. I told them I suspected a breach on our joint account. A small lie. They froze everything immediately pending my in-person visit. What Nathan didn't know, I had a separate account in my name, only my quiet what-if fund. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Then I walked into our bedroom. His side of the closet was half empty. He'd taken his favorite suits and designer sneakers, but he'd left behind the shirt from our first date and the framed photos of us on his nightstand. Oddly, he'd abandoned his muddy Adidas running shoes in the middle of my new rug, a final, careless insult. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I packed a bag. My hiking boots were already broken in from months of planning a solo trip Nathan had mocked as boring. I slid his note into my desk drawer, locked it, and grabbed my pack. Before leaving, I stood in the doorway staring at the silence that no longer felt like emptiness, but possibility. He had asked for freedom. I was going to give it to him with boundaries, footnotes, and legal counsel. And then without looking back, I locked the door and walked away. The mountain air had been sharp and cleansing. For 3 days, I hiked until my legs burned and my lungs felt raw. I didn't check my phone often. When I finally did, I saw the unraveling first, a string of texts from his friends, then from Nathan himself. "Are you seriously ignoring me? Why isn't my card working? Celeste, this isn't funny. Call me." I didn't reply. I just slid the phone back into my pocket and walked further into the silence of the forest. Each unread message felt less like a tether and more like a rope fraying apart. By Monday morning, I felt clearer than I had in years. I showered at a truck stop, pulled on the navy suit I'd packed, and drove straight to Marissa Chen's office, a discreet modern building with sharp lines and mirrored glass. And there he was, Nathan. He sat hunched on the low brick wall that edged the parking lot, his head in his hands. The last time I'd seen him through his Instagram stories, he was smirking over cocktails captioned, "Finally free." That man was gone. This one was rumpled pale, his eyes swollen and red. His tie hung loose around his neck, like even it had given up on him. When he spotted my car, he sprang to his feet. "Celeste." I stepped out, heels clicking against the pavement, keeping my face neutral. "What the hell is going on?" he demanded. "My card was declined at the hotel. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? And the savings account, it's frozen. The bank said you reported a breach." His voice cracked, desperation bleeding through the anger. I adjusted my jacket. "That's correct. There was a breach. You breached our marriage. I simply made sure our finances wouldn't follow." His expression hardened. "That's not funny, Celeste. This is our money. I needed that. I had plans." "I'm sure you did," I said softly, walking toward the office door. He caught up, grabbing my arm. "Okay, look, maybe I should have told you. Maybe I should have handled it differently. But I was suffocating. I needed space, a break. That's all this was. I didn't leave you. I just needed time to clear my head." I stopped. turned, slowly looked down at the hand gripping my sleeve until his fingers loosened. Then I met his eyes. "You left me a note, Nathan. 4 sentences. Don't look for me. It didn't say, 'I'll be back Monday. Please keep the bed warm and the accounts liquid.'" He flinched. "You wanted freedom. I'm just honoring your request." The glass doors whispered open as I stepped into the lobby, the sound crisp final. Behind me, his voice broke ragged with panic. "Celeste, we can fix this. You can't just walk away." I didn't look back. The door closed, sealing his pleas outside. And for the first time in years, I felt the strange, steady weight of control settle onto my shoulders. Not relief, not yet, but power. A week of silence. Then a voicemail from a man whose voice carried the kind of smooth authority that made my skin crawl. "Celeste, this is Mark Jensen, Erica's husband. I think we should talk. Nathan's been seeing her for months. If you didn't already know, well, now you do." Erica, the colleague whose laugh lingered too long at holiday parties, whose perfume clung faintly to Nathan's shirt some nights. I had suspected, but suspicion feels like smoke, hard to grasp. Now it was fire. I didn't call him back. I didn't need more proof whispered in shame. I already had his note, his absence, his unraveling. But 2 nights later, proof came to me. The doorbell rang just past dusk. I peered through the peephole. Nathan stood there, shoulders stiff, lips pressed thin. Beside him, a woman with glossy dark hair and an expensive camel coat. Erica. His hand rested at the small of her back like she was a prize he was presenting. My stomach twisted, but my voice stayed even as I unlatched only the top lock, leaving the security chain hooked. I opened the door a few inches. "Yes." Nathan's attempt at charm curdled into irritation. "Celeste, enough of this. Let me in. We're here for my things." I studied them both. "Your things will be handled through our attorneys. That's how this works now." Erica shifted uncomfortably, but Nathan pressed forward, palm flat against the door, rattling the chain. "Stop being dramatic. This is still my home. We'll just grab what's ours and be gone." I let the silence stretch, then tilted my head. "Funny. The locks were changed the morning you left. You vacated the property, Nathan. You have no right to be here." His jaw tightened, voice dropping into that low, dangerous register he used whenever he wanted me to feel small. "You're going to regret this, Celeste. Don't make me make things difficult for you." The words hung heavy between us. A threat, clumsy, predictable. I leaned just close enough so he could see the steadiness in my eyes. Is that advice? Or a threat? Either way, it's recorded. I tapped the phone in my hand. His expression faltered. Behind him, Erica tugged lightly at his sleeve, whispering something sharp I couldn't hear. He muttered, "This isn't over," before they turned away, retreating down the path like 2 actors leaving the wrong stage. When the night swallowed them, I closed the door and slid every bolt into place. But the quiet of the house felt different now. He hadn't just left. He'd built a whole other life in the shadows. And now that life had knocked on my door. The night and after Nathan and Erica came to my door, I couldn't sleep. The house was silent yet heavy, like it was holding its breath with me. I found myself wandering into the office we once shared. The desk lamp cast a cold pool of light across the keyboard of our old desktop. It had sat untouched for months. Nathan always preferred his laptop, which he'd taken with him. I powered it on. A thought had been gnawing at me since the door confrontation. He hadn't even bothered to cover his tracks. It didn't take long. The browser history was a map of his betrayal hotel. Bookings under aliases, late-night dinner reservations, private Instagram logins. And then the messages. A secret chat log stretching back 6 months. There they were, Nathan and Erica. Flirty, cruel, careless. They joked about my predictability, about how I never questioned his work dinners, about the boring life he couldn't wait to escape. My throat tightened as I scrolled. The morning he left, she'd sent him, "Note is on the counter. Freedom awaits. See you at the hotel in an hour. E." The words blurred. For a moment, I was back at the kitchen island, staring at his neat handwriting, the key pressed against the note like punctuation. I swallowed hard. My chest hurt, not from love lost, but from humiliation calcifying into something sharper. I began methodically taking screenshots. Each page, each message, each receipt. My fingers moved with a calm precision that startled me. When I was done, I saved everything to a thumb drive and labeled it in bold letters, "Evidence." Then I emailed a copy to Marissa with a single subject line for the file. I sat back in the chair, staring at the glow of the monitor. The grief was still there, yes, but it had changed texture. It was no longer a hollow ache. It was becoming fuel. I whispered to the empty room, "This isn't revenge. This is clarity." And for the first time since he'd left, the silence of the house didn't feel suffocating. It felt like armor. The days that followed moved with a quiet precision, each step falling into place as if I had rehearsed it all my life. First, the house. The lease was due for renewal, and the landlord called, wary of complications. I explained simply, "Nathan has vacated the property permanently. I have his handwritten note confirming it." I emailed him a photo of the note, the brass key resting neatly beside it. Within a day, a new lease, solely in my name, arrived in my inbox. A clean line drawn in ink where a marriage had once been. Then came the social fallout. I didn't spread rumors. I didn't need to. Nathan and Erica were loud enough for both of us. Their social media turned into a frantic performance: steak dinners weekend, getaways, endless selfies with captions like "finally happy." But people noticed the cracks. A colleague of mine, Kelly, called one evening, voice hesitant. "Celeste, I'm sorry. It's just, everyone at their office knows. They're a spectacle. People are whispering. It's awkward no one respects them anymore." Word traveled faster than I expected. Erica's husband had filed for divorce, and it was uglier than ours. Custody battles, financial audits. Nathan had stepped into a fire he wasn't equipped to handle. Meanwhile, I stayed silent. Silence is heavier than shouting. It makes people lean in, wonder, fill in the blanks themselves. Late one night, my phone lit up. Nathan's name. Against my better judgment, I let it roll to voicemail. His voice cracked, not the confident man who once dictated my world. "Celeste, do you remember that trip to the coast? How happy we were. I don't know how we got here. His tone shifted frantic. "Look, I really need my half of the security deposit. It's $2, $850. Just wire it to me, please." I listened once, then deleted it. The audacity was breathtaking. The next day, a letter from his new lawyer arrived, cheap, stationery, aggressive tone, demanding release of funds. Marissa's reply was surgical. All assets frozen, pending final judgment. Further communication through counsel only. Attached was a password-protected PDF. Its name, Erica, inside the first 10 pages of their Instagram DMs. The demands stopped overnight. And I realized then, Nathan wasn't just losing me. He was losing the narrative. Their perfect love story was collapsing under its own weight, while I, in my silence, was slowly rebuilding stone by stone. 6 months after I found the note on the counter, it was over. The divorce wasn't a screaming match, no tearful courtroom theatrics. It was quieter than that, brutal in its calmness. A series of negotiations, paper by paper, email by email. Marissa Chen was worth every penny. She didn't fight loudly, she cut cleanly. She laid it all out before the judge. Nathan's handwritten abandonment note, the frozen accounts, the threats at my doorstep, the digital trail of his affair. Each piece was irrefutable. Each one chipped away at the image Nathan had tried so hard to preserve. When the settlement came, it wasn't a clean 50-50. The state allowed fault-based division under certain conditions, and Nathan had provided all the evidence Marissa needed. He walked away with little more than his clothes, a used car his parents had gifted him, and a court-ordered sliver of our joint savings. I kept the house. The house that had once been a stage set for his departure was now solely mine. The landlord sold it to me under the original lease option, and the down payment I'd been building in my private account remained untouched. I signed the purchase papers with steady hands. That night, I sat in the living room, surrounded by half-open boxes, staring at walls that finally felt like they belonged to me. I painted the kitchen in a deep blue, the kind of color Nathan always dismissed as too heavy. His Scandinavian chair was gone, replaced with a solid oak bookshelf filled with novels I'd never had time to read. Each brushstroke, each rearranged piece of furniture felt like reclaiming oxygen. And then one small moment gave me the deepest satisfaction. An email from Spotify. "Your password has been changed." I hadn't touched it. I realized Nathan had still been using our family plan, a tether I hadn't even remembered to cut. I logged in, saw his profile still sitting there. With a single click, I removed it. Reset the password. Logged out. It felt like closing the last lock on a door I didn't know was still open. I don't hate him. Hate is too hot, too consuming. What I feel now is cool indifference, the stillness after a storm. Sometimes, late at night, I remember the woman who stood in the kitchen staring at 4 sentences and a brass key. I feel her grief like a ghost pressing against my chest. But I also know that moment birthed something else, clarity, resolve, and a quiet strength that no one can take from me again. Nathan and Erica will likely spend years pointing fingers convincing themselves I was the villain who refused to wait patiently in the wings. They will never understand. I didn't ruin them. I simply stepped aside and let the consequences of their choices catch up. Justice served itself.